Hi everyone, welcome to this event from Women Tech Makers and GDG Mysore. We conduct events like these every week so that you guys can learn more about open source and Google technologies. Miss Usha Rangaraju is the chapter lead of this organization. She's a principal data scientist and she is India's first female Kaggle Grandmaster. And she has played a big role in making these events happen. If any one of you out there are interested in conducting a session like this, about technology you have had experience with, you can reach out to Ms. Usha Rangaraju through Twitter, and I've put the link of the Twitter handle below in the description. This is the core team, and this core team is common to three different organizations. There is GDG Mysore, there is TensorFlow User Group Mysore, and also Women in Machine Learning and Data Science Mysore. And TensorFlow User Group Mysore just recently became the most active community in India. And it is because of the collaborative effort of all these members, we have managed to conduct events every week successfully. This is the social media team, and they have helped us in making this event reach out to more people. And like I mentioned, there are three different organizations, and each of these organizations conduct events of their own every week. And if you want to stay updated with these events, you could check out these links. I've also put them down in the description. And we have a community partner for this event. It is Confub. Confub is an online platform where you can create live streams, live broadcasts like conferences, and they have really well-known clients like Microsoft and Red Hat. So you could check them out. I put the link in the description. And without further delay, we are going to start with today's event. And we created this Angular event this weekend so that this event is basically subdivided into three sub events. This is the first event. There's two more tomorrow. There's one in the morning and in the afternoon, so you can check them out later. And yeah, without further delay, we are going to get started with this session. So I'm going to hand it over to my co-anchor Shashank.
So, hey everyone, and let's welcome the first speaker of the day. That is Mr. Hiren Dev. He's the Chief Technology Officer of AbhayTech Solutions, and today he's going to be talking about reactive programming in Angular. So, over to you, sir.
Right. Hey, Sasank and Kevin, thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you so much, USA and the entire team of GDG and WTM Mysore for organizing this Angular Day and providing an opportunity to be a speaker at this event. So let's start with our session. Right. So today's session is about reactive programming in Angular with RxJS. This is a bit of my introduction. I am a tech author, blogger, and speaker. Currently, I am working as a Chief Technology Officer. I am the co-organizer of GDG Ahmedabad. This is the link of my blog where I share post on various technologies, including Angular, React, and a lot of other things. And this is my Twitter handle, @JDave. If you want to follow, you can follow my Twitter. Follow me on the Twitter handle. I daily share update about various events across the communities and various updates in the technologies. Okay, so now let's start. Let's begin with our session. So first of all, let's understand what exactly is the reactive programming. Many of you may have heard this term, or some for the new developers, this term will be new for them. So let's first understand a bit about reactive programming. In a simple term, in a layman term, if we say it deals with a series of events, it automatically detects the changes and propagate it. It receives the incoming changes and take necessary action on it. And while taking the actions, it don't know about the previous state or data. So basically, reactive programming is about a series of events where each and every event has a certain step. Each step emits certain values or define a next action. Action could be emitting a new value, or it could be like a completion, or it could be like an error. That depends on each and every step, how it defines the next necessary action. And for each and every step, it receives the incoming changes. So let's say, for example, there is a stream of event, and the first step produces some data. That data is delivered to the step 2. So the step 2 will receive the incoming changes, and based on certain condition, it takes the necessary action on it. And while taking an action, they don't know about the previous state 2 data, because they don't manage the state. It just work on the data it has received. So in a simple terms, if we say a reactive programming is a kind of an asynchronous series of events. Yes, so as we have mentioned, the reactive programming is asynchronous data stream and a propagation of changes. Let's first understand what is the asynchronous data stream. So we all know the term asynchronous. That means when some code is executed, it does not wait for the result, and it has to be deal with the callbacks, like we do in Ajax request. When we call an Ajax request, we don't know about the state, when we will get the response and all. So we add a callback like success and failure, and this is how we handle. So asynchronous data stream is something like this. It's a sequence of ongoing events. While propagating the changes and while sending data from one step to other, it can be anything in the stream. It can be a data collection, it can be an input, it can be a events like mouse click, key up, or anything. Data could be anything. It depends on the developer. It does not matter what kind of data you are passing. It depends on the developer and the programmer who is going to work on that, and how you are going to manage that data. So this is how it propagates, and it emits three possible things. So each and every step in the input stream has three necessary action to be taken. First is next value. Of course, let's say if we have a three or four states and three or four steps, each and every step has to emit certain value, so that the next stage who is going to receive the data can use that data. If in case there is some error, either it shows the error, or it has to be deal with it, or a complete signal. So of course, when we say a series of events, that means it cannot be an infinite event. There has to be some stoppage, and each and every step has the ability to emit the complete signal. When we emit the complete signal, that means at that point of time stream is terminated, and then the execution is over. So this is the asynchronous data stream. Now let's understand about RxJS. Let's first go through a bit about RxJS. What is RxJS? So in a layman term, it's a reactive extension for JavaScript. It's the most popular library for reactive programming. It's built on observable pattern, and it supports multiple libraries. So when we say multiple libraries, that means it supports in Angular, it supports in React, it supports in Vue.js, or it supports in plain vanilla JavaScript. So RxJS is a library. It's not a part of Angular, but Angular has given a support to it. So now it has become a part of it. But RxJS is a standalone framework or a library, you can say, that can be used in any type of JS library which you are using. Okay, now let's first understand the observable pattern. This observable pattern needs to understand very well before you start working on the RxJS. So what exactly is the observable? So we will understand in JavaScript or in a TypeScript how the observable works. Observable is a plain JS function, we can say. So here what I have done is that I have defined an observable by creating a function called myObservable. We call observable with the observer. Now what is observer? So as we have mentioned that a reactive programming is a stream of events, and each event has a step. So this step is nothing but your observer, and it has certain handlers. So observer can define three things: either next value, or define an error message, or emit a complete signal. So this handler should be there in each and every observer which you are defining. Then in the observable, you can take the necessary action. So here in my observable, we have passed the observer, and in the observer, we are using the next function of observer and we are passing the new value. So this means it's emitting a new value. You can return an error in the observable. So here in the observer, we are calling a function error and we are passing some message that something is wrong. It can be any message, or you can make it complete. So here we are emitting a complete signal in the observer, and here that means it's an end of execution or end of the string. And then this is how you can call the observable with the observer. So here in the first slide, if you see, here we have defined the function observer and observable, and we are passing the observer, and now we have defined the observer with certain values, with certain handlers, and handler it has its own steps. So here it might be possible that instead of a console log, you are calling a next observable. Then you take a next action in the observable, you define an error, or you return a complete signal. And when you want to invoke an observable, you can call that function just like we call a normal JavaScript function, that my observable, and you pass a parameter which is an observer. So this is a basic syntax of observable, or basic methodology of observable. So as we have mentioned, that observable is nothing but a stream, and it defines a function. It takes a parameter as an observer. Observer has certain handlers. That handler will define which action to be taken. And to call a necessary function, we can have a business logic inside the observable. So here it defines a stream of event. Observer is defining a new value, and then whatever we will see in the upcoming slide, then whatever the consumer is there who has subscribed to this observable or observer, they can get that value, so they can take the necessary action. So this is how you can define observable with the observer. Okay, now let's jump into reactive programming in Angular with RxJS. First of all, let's understand the four main components of RxJS for Angular. First is observable. We already have seen how observable works, but this is here we are going to understand the observable in terms of Angular. So first, let's understand push versus pull approach. So we all know that pull approach we used to work when there was no Ajax. In the older times, when we are having a JavaScript, or when we are using an HTML page and we want to frequently update it, we constantly pull for the update on the server. So if we are using a JavaScript, what we normally do is that we use a set interval function and we keep on checking every time on the server. So this is the pull approach. In the pull approach, the consumer is the one who is going to pull, and they don't know when they will get a new data. So they will constantly keep on pulling the changes. And the source from where the data is originated, they don't do anything, because here the consumer is automatically pulling the data. But then the approach was changed, and then comes the push approach. So in the push approach, the consumer is not aware about when they are going to get the new data, but the source will define when to push new data to the consumer. So consumer has certain callback or an observer, it will be invoked when the source say that, hey, I have some update, now please update yourself. So this is the push versus pull approach. So observable is built, it's a kind of a push system built in for the JavaScript. As we have said, it's a string that we use to listen for changes. So here in the push approach, we listen the changes for that, and as soon as observable define that, hey, I have a new value, the subscriber, the consumer who is consuming the observable stream can be notified, and then it can get the data based on the changes. It produces multiple values. Yes, as we have understand in the previous slide, that when we have observable and the observer, it can emit certain values. So in next, we can have 1, 2, 3, n number of steps, and n number of values are defined. So it produces the multiple values. So this is the basic building block when we say in terms of Angular, the observable. Okay, second is the observer. It's a consumer of values generated by the observable. So as we have seen in the previous slide, when we have defined the observer, we had certain handlers like next, and next is nothing but a function where we were just using the console log to print the value which is received. It can be complex business logic over there, and so it's a consumer of values generated by the observable. It's a set of callbacks, yes, because it has certain set of callbacks like next, error, complete, and it allows you to define next value and action. So here, instead of console log, if I want to change that value and call the other observer, I can do that. So this is how it allows you to define next value and action. The subject. So this is a this is a specific term in terms of Angular only. It's a special type of observable. The subject is nothing but it's a special type of observable, and it allows you to multicast value to various observers, and it is used to subscribe. So in Angular, what happens is that we create a observable and then we create a subject. That subject will be used to subscribe to observable. Now let's say we have two consumer in the Angular, so each consumer can subscribe to the same subject, and when the value changes in the observable, each consumer will be notified via subject, and this is how it emits or it multicast value to various observer. And as the last line suggests, it is used to subscribe. The subject is nothing but a special type of observable which can be used to define and to subscribe and to get the various values. The operators. So this is a specifically in terms of Angular RxJS. It has certain inbuilt operators. It's nothing but a special functions, and it allows you to manipulate the data coming from the subject. So let's say, for example, we will see this in the detail in the next slides, but just to give you an overview that when, let's say, for example, you have one API and API returns certain data in terms of JSON object, and now you want to filter that JSON object on the client side. So here you can use certain operators. So there is one operator which we will see in the upcoming slide, which is a map operator. So here the map operator can be used to manipulate the data. So what it does is that it maps the incoming data, and that allows you to define a specific function. Inside that function, you can have your business logic to have the client side filtering or do whatever the stuff you want to do. So that those operators are special functions which are available in the Angular RxJS library. We will see in the detail. We will see some of the operators which are widely known and which are widely used. I have listed down in the slides, but most of the operators, there are various other operators which you can the documentation which you can find on the RxJS documentation. And as we are mentioned that there are lots of inbuilt Rx operators that you can use, and it allows you to manipulate data coming from the subject. So clear so far? We understood about the observable, observer, subject, and operators. Okay, now it's time for the hello world. Let's understand, or let's see a basic. Right. So this is an hello world example. Okay, so here what we are doing is that if you open the app component, what we are doing is that we import a subject from RxJS. RxJS is an npm package, and here I have defined an object called session, and it has certain properties like title, which is hello RxJS, the speaker name is Hiren, and the current topic which is going on is the introduction. So here it's the data. This is my data. This is my source. This is my data. And I have created one more property, which is the current topic, and I have assigned the object current topic to this particular property, and this particular property we have bind to hello tag over here, and it is showing the value of the current topic. Now let's go back to our app component.ts file, and here in the constructor, here in the constructor, we have defined a subject called session, and we have given a template called any. That means it can take any value. Now, what we are doing is that we are calling this subscribe method to the subject, and here what we are doing is that whatever the data, whatever the new update coming in the data, we are assigning it to the current topic property of my component. Now, here what we are doing is that we have set certain timeout, and in the timeout, what we are doing is that we are changing the value of current topic property of my session object. So first it is understand observable, then after 3 seconds it is understand subject, and after 3 seconds it is understand observer. And here the subject, this is nothing but my special type of observer, and here what we are doing is that after updating the session object, we are using the next method and we are passing the value this dot session. So here what happens is that as soon as the next method is emitted, it will call this particular subscribe, and here it will get the value and it will set the value. So now let's run it so we can see the difference. So let me just make some changes. So as you can see, the first is right. So first is introduction. After 3 seconds, it is changed to understand observable, and after 3 seconds, it is changed to understand subject. So here we have created a stream of event. So this is my stream. This is my first step. Here I am changing a value to understand observable. The second step is emitting a new value, and the third step is emitting a new value. Here we have not used the complete statement, but we are not changing value any further. So here my stream execution is stopped. So this is a simple plain hello world example of RxJS, as you can see. So clear here. So far here we have defined a subject, and then this is my subscriber, this is my observer, and over here we are assigning a new value, and that value is, that property is bind to my app component.html with a tag. So that value is set over there. So as we can see, what exactly is the reactive programming is that this particular object is updated in a set timeout function, and here my current topic property of my component is updated from it, and so this is nothing but a kind of a reaction, we can say. So this is the reactive programming. So I am changing value somewhere, and it is notifying my consumer that the value is changed, and we are producing the multiple steps. So step 1, step 2, step 3. So this is my series of event, and here I am observing the event. So this is the plain hello world RxJS example of this is plain hello world RxJS example in the Angular. We will see next. Okay, now, so we have seen the hello world example. Now we will see some common usage of RxJS in Angular. So this was the basic example. Now we will see some of the common usage of how RxJS can be used in the Angular. So first is HTTP request. I'm sure most of you have used this, but at the time you may not be aware about that this is the actually the RxJS. But the major use of RxJS is happening nowadays into calling the APIs. So as we know that when we call an API, normally in Angular application or any other JavaScript application, when we have some APIs, it is nothing but the asynchronous request. So till now we have been using the AJAX request, and in Angular we use the HTTP client to call the API, and then we use the on success and on failure method of the AJAX and to display the certain data. Now here what we are doing is that in Angular I have created a service which is nothing but my user service.ts file. Here I have one object which is user.ts file. It is nothing but defining my user object. It has 3 property: ID, name, email, and it has some constructor. Now in user service.ts file, we are using HTTP client to call the API, and what it does is that I have one function, the get users. It is calling the observable, and it is defining that this observable will return a collection of the user object. So as you can see over here, what we have defined is that it's a collection of user object. And then what we are doing is that we are just calling the HTTP GET request along with the URL, and we are returning the observable from here. So how it will be consumed on the component side. So here I have imported the user service from my user service.ts file, and what I am doing over here is that I am using user service.getUsers method, and I am subscribing to that particular observable. So when we call this method, actually it invokes the get user method and it returns me the observable, and it will call my AJAX request. And over here in the subscribe method, as we have mentioned that we have used one operator called map. So what I'm doing is that I'm mapping my response to certain item, and inside that what I'm doing is I am creating a new user, which is nothing but my user object, and I am assigning all the values which I have which I am getting in the API, and I am creating the collection of my users object. So this is a plain example of how you can use observables in HTTP requests. Say, for example, if you have some error, then you can define it over here that I have some error. So here, what we are doing is that this is called a manipulation of data. We are mapping the data, and here I can do anything. If I want to change, so this is, as you can see, this is a function. Let's say if I want to change this name, I can change item.name property over here and then assign it to the new user. So whatever the value, whatever the data coming from the API will be changed, and on the client side I'm manipulating the data. So this is how observables along with the operators can be used to call HTTP request and manipulate the data. So this will be used normally when you want to do some client side stuff like changing the data and anything. It is up to the developer how you are going to use that, right? So this is a plain example of how we can have HTTP request in Angular along with the RxJS. This is nowadays used a lot. When RxJS was not introduced, this concept was not there. We directly used to call HTTP request in the component itself, and then we use the callback function of the HTTP request. But here we are using the observable along with the operator, so that gives me the flexibility of creating a string and manipulating the data. Here in the observable, if I want to call another service over here, I can call one more service. So it can be a chain of event, and each step will executed asynchronously, right? So this is how you can use RxJS for calling the HTTP request. Right, now let's go back and see one more usage, which is share data between component. Right, so now uh, let me just open that particular project, save data. So okay, in Angular, when we want to share a data between a parent component and a child component, we normally use input output decorator, and then we emit the value and by using the event emitter and all. But there is one more way. By using the RxJS, you can share a data between a related component as well as the non-related component. So it's not necessary that all that should be a parent-child relationship between a component. So here, if you can see, what I have is that I have an app component. Inside my app component, I'm using one more component, hello, and inside hello component.ts file, I'm changing some value. But before that, let's understand how it can be used. So here I have created a service. So when you want to share data between a component, a related component or a non-related component in Angular, you should create a service. So here we have created a counter service, and we have defined a special type of subject, which is a behavior subject, which is again a component of RxJS. And here what I'm doing is that I have defined a counter as one. So I'm initializing it with counter, and then I have created a behavior subject, and this subject will have a data of type number. Then I have a constructor where I am defining a behavior subject and I am assigning a property which is this.counter. So behavior subject will be in it with value 1. Then I have one function which is increment. Inside the increment, what I am doing is that I am incrementing the counter with value 5 and then emitting the next value. So here the value is updated, and then we use this subject method, which is subject, as we have seen, that is a special type of observer. It emits the next value by using this counter. And now if you see inside the app component, what I'm doing is that inside the app component I have subscribed to that particular count service, and here also I have one local property which is a counter and it has a number, and here I'm getting the value inside my subscriber and then I'm assigning it to the local property. But as you can see over here, I am not calling the increment function. So let's understand where we are calling this. So I am calling that increment function inside my hello component, which is nothing but a child component of my app component. Inside that, I have used counter service and I am using increment method with the set timeout. So my child component is updating the value and it is reflected over here in the parent component. So let me just run it again so we can have a better idea, right? So as you can see, initially we have counter value 1. Okay, it's running 1 minute. So initially I have a counter value 1, and after some time the counter value is changed to 6. But that particular change is done in the hello component. App component does not know that there was a change, but this behavior subject notified the app component that, hey, there's a change in value of my counter component, so display a new component. So here what we have done is that we have saved data, the counter data, with my two component which is related over here, but it can be unrelated component as well. So this is how you can use so this is how you can use RxJS to share the values in multiple component of your Angular. Right. Now let's understand the next step, which is the RxJS operator. Okay, so to understand the RxJS operator, let's first go through the slides I have created. So these are certain there are certain category of operator. One is, first is the creation operator. It has certain type of functions. I have mentioned only the few of function over here which are widely used. There are many more functions, many more operators. You can find the entire list on the RxJS website or the Angular IO website. It has certain operators like ajax, of, from event, interval, range, timer, generate. Then we have the transformation operator. As we have seen in our HTTP request object, we used the map operator to map the internal incoming data and created a user object. So it can be used to manipulate the data. Then we have the merge map, group by, plug, scan, window, concat map. These are certain widely used operator. There are many more, so you can check it out that as well. Then we have certain filtering operators. So filtering operators are like take last, first, last, skip last. And we have certain join operators, combine all, concat all, merge all, start with, exhaust. So these are the inbuilt function. These functions can be used along with your HTTP data. It can be used along with your collections. It can be used with the events, so many things. So let's see some examples of the operators. I have just created basic examples of operators, of few operators, not all, because of the time constraint. I cannot show all the operators. So let's first see the from operator, from event operator. So here, let me just uncomment this code. Okay. And let me open the console. Okay, so here what we are doing is that we are using from event operator to track the mouse event. So what we are doing is that we have get the element by ID body. So body element I have created in the index file, not sorry, not in the index file, but the app component.ts file, and I have assigned an ID to it, body. Now, if I go back to app component, what I'm doing is that I'm using a from event operator to track the mouse move event when I am hovering my mouse over the body. And then we have called one subscription and subscribe to the event. So here, this is my subscription. It is subscribing to this particular mouse moves observable. So as we have seen, this operator is nothing but a special type of observables. Inside this, I'm just console log the event client what I'm getting. So as if you see, okay, let it compile again. It's taking time. Right. So as you can see, I am hovering the mouse, and if you see on the console, it is logging the coordinate. See. So here it's what we have done is that we have just used from event operator to track the stream of my click event. Let me just comment it. Now let's see one more operator, which is a map operator. Okay, so in map operator, what we are doing is that we have some array of numbers. So we have used of operator to create a collection. I have number 1 2 3 1 to 10, and what I'm doing is that I have created a map. I have used the map operator, and that is using this particular data to find out that how many are odd number and how many are even number. So this is the map operator I have used, and this is my observables. I have defined odd even observables, and then I have subscribed to that particular observable. So what it is doing is that if you see, it is taking value one by one, and it is defining which is the odd number, which is the even number. So 1 is the odd, 2 is the even number, 3 is again odd number, 4 is again even number. So this is my collection, and on the collection I have used the map operator, and I am just defining a subscriber and an observer which is finding out the odd and even number, and then I have used subscribe method. Inside that I am just console log the value. So this is how you can use map operator. Okay, next let's understand the filter pipe. Right. So it is again doing the same thing, but here we are using the pipe function. So what pipe function is doing is that I have a array of numbers, and I have used the of operator to create a stream, and then I am using a pipe function to join that particular stream, and inside that I am using the filter operator, which is checking that whether my number is even or odd. And then I have used subscriber. Inside the subscriber I am just logging off, and what I'm finding out is that I have certain numbers, and from that how many numbers are even numbers. So from 1 to 10 I'm just using that. So this is how you can use filter pipe. Next is let's quickly go through the find operator, because we are running out of time. So let's quickly understand the find operator. So here what I'm doing is that I am using a from event operator, and I'm trying to find out what kind of tag on which I have clicked my mouse. So if I click over here, you can see the mouse event is logged. Because this is my paragraph tag, and I have created a business logic over that if it is a paragraph tag, then only you console log the values over here. Right. So this is how you can use from event, from operator, and lot of all kind of RxJS operator to track certain events. It can be mouse, it can be your HTML events, or it can be data collections, it can be your adjust requests, so many things. Right. And so these are the operators, as we have mentioned, which you can use, and more information you can find it on their site. Right. So yes, thank you very much for listening to this, listening to my talk. If you have any questions, you can please put it over here.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. This was wonderful. And there's one question for you, sir. I'll be popping it up right now.
Sure. How to unscribe that method from completion? If I want to subscribe to some other method, will it affect subscription? No, it will not affect subscription, because if you are subscribing to some other observable, you can do that inside your the observer. So as we have seen, you can have a chain of functions and chain of the steps, chain of observables. So it will not affect your subscription. Your existing subscription will be as it is, and you can subscribe to some other method as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And if there are any other questions, you can please leave them down in the comments below. And
Sure.
sir can spare some time and you can answer them anytime.
Definitely. So yeah, thank you GDG Mysore and WTM Mysore again one more time for providing this opportunity. Hope you like the session. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me on the Twitter. I will answer over there. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. And switching gears and moving forward, we've got our second speaker of the day. That is Miss Geeta Kakrani. And ma'am is the CEO at Kanishka Information Technology Private Limited. And today she's here with us and she's going to be talking about NgRX state management. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, hi Kishan, hi Kevin. Hello everybody, and thank you so much for Rusha and entire team of GDG Masur and WTM to provide me this opportunity. Then I can share my experience with you and my knowledge. Of course, this is a real great opportunity for me. Then I can share. Actually, I'm here. I'm a developer of the many technology in. Actually, I'm a CEO of Kanishka Information Technology and organizer of GDG Gavalia and as well as brand ambassador of the WTM Gavalia. I have a 10-year experience actually because I am working in this area for many years. Actually, it's my passion to learn many new things. So obviously, I want to share. Can I share my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, this is my intro. I'm from the Gwalior, and already I told you I have 10 plus year experience. Actually, I am working with my for my passion. Actually, I'm always interested to learn Android application, data science, and web application. So obviously, it's my passion to learn new things, and I have some experience in Angular and React. So I want to share with you. So let's start. So today we are going to talk about the NgRX. So first of all, many persons say what is the NgRX and what is the real use of NgRX? It's a compulsory in Angular application. So I can say it's not a compulsory, but yeah, but it's a very important topic because now this day we are creating big projects, yeah, medium-sized projects. So we have to manage multiple states. So NgRX is just a state management application. NgRX is a state management application which manage number your information, which called state in a singular way in the singular source. How can it can done? We have to cover some topics for this. After that, we can understand it in better way. So these are some topics which we have to compulsory use in the store application. Yeah, in the state management, these are some topics we are going to talk about it. First, store. What is a store? Actually, if we say many application we run like Android application or Angular application, React application, React Native application, then we find we have to some new views and part of the application. It's create like a tree structure. So we can find if we are getting the one app and we want to get information from the next new application, yeah, third application or a fourth application. So I have to go throughout because it's just like a tree. So I have to go throughout the one to second or second to one. Then after that, we can get the third one to second and second to third. But actually, I want something different. So how can we state management? We have to follow some rules. We have to follow some steps. So my first step is a store, which store your all data, local or external doesn't matter. We store your all information at one place. So if we can say it a single source, It's a real single source or true single source to apply data to all applications. Second is a reducer, is just a manager which manage your requirement, your request. After that, it will provide from store and adding your data in store. So it's just like a manager, store manager. And actions is a way what you want to add, you want to remove, you want to update, you want to delete, the all are called actions. And selector, so three steps are very compulsory. Without store, reducer, action, you can't manage your state application. But selector in effect some decorative points. Like a selector, we can apply well, our query is going to succeed or not, or we are going in the big tree structure. So it's a very complex to find my target value from the database or from store. Then selector can help and can reduce your efforts. And effect, obviously. So obviously, if we are creating a web application or other application, so normally we use dynamic data come from the external source like a Firebase and server-side application. So that's why that's a very important. We maintain data in a proper way and effective way. So effect will maintain and reduce your side effect. So all are five steps manage your state in a well done way. So what is this? We are going. First of all, what is NgRX? NgRX is a combination of the Redux and RxJS. RxJS just Hiren described in very well. So I don't think we talk about this and again. So RxJS, NgRX, it's just a collection of the RxJS and Redux application. So RxJS, what is this? And already you know, but what is the Redux? So actually in React application, React Redux managed to state. So in Angular, we want to manage store. We want to manage state using the RxJS, because RxJS you just know about that. RxJS is a collection which is streaming your data, which show your collection. But store management, yeah, state management, manage your data in a adding time, in a retrieving time, in a updating time. So we can manage in a well done way. So it's already available using the Redux, but only store management, only state management. But here, NgRX will provide both application. It contain RxJS and it provide your Redux facility. So it's a highly inspired by it's a contain RxJS and inspired by Redux. So we can say if you want to create a reactive application in Angular, so it's a better way, because NgRX create for Angular application for Angular environment. So we can find without Redux and that facility in a better way. So that's the NgRX, which created by Rob in 2013. He is a Angular team. He belong to Angular team. But after that, clearly I want to say that NgRX is not a core part of the Google and not supported by the Google. But after that, it's a created by Angular team from the Google. So obviously, it's a supported. So what is RxJS? I don't think I need to explain this. You already know what is the RxJS. Just here and speak about that. RxJS is a reactive library and it's a container. It's a streaming which provide event-based data. So it's contain all facility in NgRX. So it's a very important role in the NgRX. What is the Redux? Already I told you, Redux is a state management system, and state management system for React or other application, because Redux is a open source, can apply in any JavaScript application. But obviously, Angular team create for Angular like this. So React by itself create inspired by Flux, but in NgRX inspired by React. So which facility provide by React? More than that facility, NgRX provide in state management system. First of all, what is the state management and what is the store? And you can see, suppose that you are creating a website or you are creating an app and it going on the tree structure. If you know about the data structure, then you can see it's a root, your app, and your two child apps, product and customer. You enter your product detail in product and you enter your customer detail in customer side. But your third child is order, and we want to get the detail of the product and you want to get the information of customer. But it's a tree view. So we have to go through product to app to customer after that order. It can take time because it's a long way. Just like you are creating a showroom and you have number of branches, but your store, your godown is only belong to one store, one showroom, and other showroom and other branches have to come and for adding data, for retrieving information or retrieving goods. So it can be time taking, it will high efforts. So it can possible a store will be separately, it will not directly connected with a product, it will not connect to only customer, it's not a connected on order, it can be just separate option which provide, which created by product, okay, but can provide information direct to order, not we have to pass to product to app to customer, customer to order. No, it can provide to all domains. So like whenever we create number of component, yeah, we are creating number of state, then this tree can be deep down. So how is the possible if we are getting the information from my third, fourth number domain, then it will go to come to the first to second, second to third, third to fourth. It will take more time. So I want to create a store. We can say single source of truth, because store is a collection of your information like a database which provide your information in any domain, in application, in any part of the application. Doesn't matter now you are in the third or fourth number view, you can access direct information. So it can reduce your time, it can reduce your efforts. That's why a store is a good and single source of all your data to whole application. So like its database, it's work here, but database is always working as an external way, but a store can work in the local or external way both. So if you are creating single page application, then you can create your local data using the store. If you are creating multiple application and you are calling the data from the local store, then after that store can available. And if you are using external data information, then you can use the store to load your data in your website, in your app, and after that you can provide any domain of your web app. So like this store work here, and store obviously centralize your application because it's not connected particular one, it's connected to my all domain and provide to all. What is reducer? Reducer, I like a I say I have a store, I have some showrooms, and I want to data, I want to some goods from the go down from the my data store, yeah, my goods store. So I'm calling, I have to go down and request, please provide this goods for my shop. And other branch will also come, third branch will also come. So who will maintain the all information? You have to keep the manager who will take the our instruction, our requirement, and according to our requirement, they will provide this is for you. Or we are adding the, then it's also we remember who are giving and who is taking. So that's why we have to maintain all records. Reducer is just a manager to maintain store. Will keep remind what is, who is sending the request, from where application is coming your request, from where we are getting the information, from where we are adding the information. Everything reducer will manage. So reducer is just a data manager, but in the logically it's a sum of pure function which pass two argument. First is state, means contain the data, and second the action. So what is your action? Right now your action is adding your data from one store, you're adding your getting your data from second store, or updating your data for any request. So that's why it will execute according to your action and return new state if you want, or existing state if you want. So this is a reducer. So reducer, you can see in the example, we create a function, we are passing a initial state. Initial state means data, and action means my action. And yeah, here switch which maintain our different types of action. My first action is the add, my second action is remove. So if we pass add action, then it will maintain your state and it will add new data in your store. And if passing the action remove, then they understand I want to remove data from the state. Yes, store. This is a reducer. So without reducer, you can't maintain your store. So store is a contain your information, and reducer is a manager for this information. My third is a state. Obviously, state is important. State, what is the state? State is in data structure. State like a data structure because create a like a tree view. So state are just a information. State are just your data in your app. Yeah, just we can say state If we imagine that's a reducer is a table, so what is a state? State is a fields information. So state are a data, state are a field, state are a information for a website, for a app, for a any type of application which store, which contain, which update according to action by reducer, and all are stored in one place store. So third, next, action. Obviously, using the action, we can call the reducer. If your reducer is a function, action is a caller. So action by user triggered because user send your request, adding, removing, updating, anything. So action is a user request which triggered by a component or HTML control or view control, and call the reducer. And according to action, reducer will execute, but it's called a dispatch because action dispatch their requirement, and according to your action, reducer will execute and return new state. Means if you are adding information in store, so action, what is the action? Add. So reducer understand what is your action, and after that it will execute and add your information in store. Otherwise, you want to remove, this is also one action, and you want to dispatch your action, the reducer understand what do you want right now. You want to remove information from the store, okay, they will remove. Or you want to just retrieve your information, you want to update your information, everything is the action, and by using the action you can send your requirement to store. So store by action using reducer will update. This all are compulsory steps to store management, state management. State management, where it will store, where it will remove, where it will update for all application, for all parts of my application. That's called state management system. State management system like this, you can see this structure. Component like a view. If you know about the Angular application, then you can understand component is just a view controller. By this user trigger action, and action go to the reducer, and reducer understand what is your action, and according to action it will maintain store, updating, deleting, or anything. And after that, if you retrieve data, then store will return again component, yeah, or user their data. You can see again component, where click on the action, action go to the reducer, reducer go to the store, store come to the component. But in the middle area you can see a selector, services, effect, some more options. These are decorators, not a compulsory option, but these are decorator, and obviously these can obviously reduce your efforts, and you can impactive way data. You can your action can impactable, and you can it can provide data in a very fast and a very low side effect. So how can, what is the selector? Actually, a selector, we can say selector just like a query. In simple way, if you know about the database, simply a traditional database. So database, if your store is your database, and reducer is just a table, state is just a field. So what is a selector? Selector is just a query. Select a state from the table. You want to select all values, or you want to particular value, then you can apply where. That's why selector like this it will work. So what is the selector? Selector find some pieces of the data from complex data structure, because it's not a simple structural way, it's not a table view. In Angular, your all data structured in the tree view. So whenever we add the information, whenever we add the state in the table, it's going to deep down. So it will very complex to find our interest value, our target value. Then selector can reduce these complications and can find your value, your target value in complex to complex structure. That selector can help you. And what are effects? Effects, whenever we create the dynamic data sources, like we are connecting with an external application like a Firebase, MySQL, MongoDB, and server-side application. So we are fetching the data from external sources. But sometimes you find whenever you get data from the external source, you find you have to face some side effect like a actual connection error, yeah, or you will find the network error, or you will find some extra efforts to connect your data sources. So effects can reduce your efforts because it isolated your side effects. It really helpful if you are getting your data using API from the external source. So it will reduce your efforts, because effects just check your action, because you can see its effects. Just listen your action. What do you want right now, and check the what are reducer work. And after the reducer work to get the data from the store, effects will check data are coming or not. If data successfully load, then it will show your data. If data could not successfully load for causing of some error, then it can API can show your error message in a very well manner in your HTML page. But once other side, it will work in the backend side. Effect first of all load adopt your data using the API and service to web load. So if you have action connection problem, if you have network problem, then we can easily adopted data serve in any application. So store will load first of all, and after that it will provide to my all application. So we can say if we can if we have a network issue, if we have a multi-layer structure issue, then state management can help with all steps to provide our data in low maintenance, in low network. So effect will maintain your whole action. So this is the effects. What is the pros? State management is it profitable or not? Can be every time we should use or not? First, yeah, obviously there are a number of benefits of state management. First is the centralization. If you're creating like a tree view, so root node is a centralization. So like store, what is a store? It's a store your all state at a one place, at a one directory. And it makes it easier to update or changes to the store and track down the problem. It will provide from the one source to all application. So it's easy to understand if we are applying the changing, and changes will make happen to my whole application. So using the centralization, we can maintain data with multiple layers and with multiple structure. Testing, obviously it's just a pure function. Reducer is a pure function, and my effects are some pure function. Selector are the pure function. It's a functional based structure. So whenever we call the function, we pass the some input, then it will give the output. So we can check particular call one using the testing, and it support to modularity. So we can divide our big project in a in the small parts, and in each layer. So we can test in state management each layer with every part. So testing is very easy with this type of state management. Performance, obviously performance is best. Already I told you, it's all first of all load your data in a store, and after that provide to whole application direct. So if we are getting the data from one to second to third state, it will take a high performance, because we are using unless you unnecessary application right now for fetching the data. But if we are fetching the data directly your store from the store, then obviously performance will be fast. Tracking, if it's just like a data structure, we can track each layer from where, because reducer maintain your all information. So from where right now your information is coming, from where your information is going, everything maintained by reducer. Reducer is just like a function which maintain your existing state. So that's why tracking is a much better. That's why we can find uh, where is my data right now and process. Predictable, because predictable is a because it's a tree structure, so it's a automatically predict your difference. In a state management, it's a difference prediction. It will provide the prediction ki where data should be. And like if we are using RxJS and we are using observer, and already I told you RxJS is a observer which contain your information and available in state management. So it can predict your information ki what we should be right now in queue, or what should be in can be referential side. It can be posting, it can be push, it can be pull. Everything can be helped by state management. But obviously, if you have the pros, then you have the cons. Cons, obviously, because it's not easy to understand. If you are new programmer, if you're not know about basic, you have only just basic knowledge of Angular, I think it can be some hard for you, because for understand state management, for understand all step of state management, you must have to know well the knowledge of the Angular. If you don't know more about the Angular, it can further for you. So I don't think it's easy to understand for new learner. big only available for big project. Obviously, if you are using small projects, then why you need state management? Why you are creating a store, reducer, action, selector? Why are you following these steps? If you have a very single application, you have a very small application. If you have really big application, your medium sized project, if you have really multi-layer architecture, then you should use this for maintaining this in each layer. If you are using in a simple data sources and which provide only one view, then it's totally useless and totally time taking. You should avoid in a small project. And it's not a core part of Google. It's a really, we can say, big cons, because it's not still now internal part of the Google. It's just created by Google team, not from the Google Angular team. When it will use, obviously already I told you, if you have a big project, if you know about Angular, if you know about you have a very good team which who know about the Angular concept, then you can go with. Otherwise it can be big problem. You have a which type of application I can use. Suppose that you are creating a shopping complex, you are shopping website, online order website. So here multiple view. We are suppose that like Amazon Prime, Amazon just adding information from seller and showing information in a prime list direction way, list into the customer according to requirement list. So we can access data from any application and from any view. So that's it. It's a very important. We maintain all staff in this type of big project. So I can go with NgRX if you are creating this project in Angular. Otherwise, React can also inject application. So which benefit from come from for reactive application? All are provided by NgRX. This is some information about the Angular. We can go with it's already I told you about the examples where we can use. As I told you, we can use in the user list, shopping list. We can use in the dynamic image gallery. You can use if you are using like a Ghana.com. It's always fetching data from the cloud side. If you are using cloud connectivity, Firebase and other sources server, and you are fetching dynamic data, image gallery like image bazaar, then you should go state management system, Angular application. If you are using, then you can go NgRX. So all are the some intro about the NgRX. All are the detail about the some state management. How is the useful state management? Because whenever you create a big project, whenever you create a big application, then it's a very compulsory. You have to distribute in small parts, and you have to maintain each part. So using the NgRX and using your state management system, you can maintain every part of your big application in a personal way and check execution way, check tracking each step. So that can be very helpful. Now we should start some practical hands-on, then you can understand a better way. Uh, my it's not showing my code part. I think you should remove this. I'm adding my new screen. You can see my project. Already I created very small project, and in this project, first of all we have to create obviously Angular project, and for after that you have to install store system because it's not available directly. So Control C can run my program. You can see and search to run my application, and this is a create the component, and this is install store. Whenever you create ng project, then you have to need to store, because if you want to apply state management system in the using the NgRX, then you have to store, and it will provide multiple application like selector, like effects, like reducer facility. Then all facility will use can here, and you can see whenever we create this project, and what is this right now it's doing. If we run my application,
Now can you share screen again?
Yeah, just I'm
Yeah,
sharing.
okay. Got it.
Yeah. Okay. So you can see it's a very simple application I made for you. Just I'm adding some items. It's a simple list. It's not a big project. It's not a targeted project. So I'm just creating for some example. So I'm adding data, any type of AX1 add. You can see, and please see here. It's create like a tree view. And whenever you will remove, automatically it will be reduced. You can see. So I have applied two actions. First action is adding to your data in list, and second action is remove data from your list. So I'm maintaining right now two actions. How is that possible? Let me check. Uh, so again, I'm sharing my code part. Now, can you see? Okay. So now you see. So for this, some folders we have to create. You can say, first of all, I have to create actions. This is my folder. Component, which component I want to using here, only adding, well, only I'm adding control, adding data. So this is a component area. Models, just actions, how many actions we are using here. Reducer, use the functions, and here what action we are sharing, we are maintaining here. So first of all, we have to create models. First of all we create obviously folder, here action, components, model, and reducer, and here. So this is my some folder we create here. Whenever we create folder, then first of all we create a page in models to do. This is my model. Model in which we create some field, some state, which do you want to create in your app. So right now I am using one field only, title. You can see on my on my output we are using only title. And what is the type of the title? String. So this is my type of, like we never create a table, so we have to mention the type and field type and fields. So like this, I'm creating a title. This is a field and string is a type. We can create multiple fields here. And after that we create uh, here. So this is my action. What will we're going to do with your data? Adding and removing. So in enumeration we create new data type, add and remove, and we set the value add and remove. So it's just a collection, simply collection, but it will perform with action. So we have to go in the action page, and in action page we set, we create two actions. This is like a simply object oriented application. So we have to create a class. First class implemented by action parent, which provide the type of action, and payload, which load your application. It's just a JSON type. This is the object type, which automatically increase, which support your push and pull your data. So payload perform like this. So there are two different classes which implemented by my first interface, action parent, which is a class. This is like an interface, and we are creating a add. Add, in add class we mention the type, which already defined blank field. Type is just a add, and constructor. So whenever we call this action, it will perform add function. And like this remove, there is a type action, action type is a remove, and it's also any constructor which reload your application with new updation. This is the action. And action performed by component, and go to the reducer. We have to call the reducer just like initialize. It's not a compulsory we initialize your state or information by default. If you can do, then you can mention title, the title 1, title 2, title 3. There are 3 states right now, initial states, and you can blank, you can be declared as an array, or you can direct apply dynamic list. And now we are creating a function, because reducer just like a function, pass two argument. First is a state, is a belong to existing state, because every time it will update your state. If you not hold your existing state, then it will be reload on update your state, so your existing data can be lost. So we must have to hold your existing initial state and your action, what is type of action. So whenever we call by action, then we pass the type of the action, and according to type of action it will call using switch and case operation. So if we suppose that case action dot add, then it will return state action dot payload, it automatically support to push function. Push means add your data in last area. And if you are getting the remove type of action, then you must have to keep your existing state in a temporary variable. So your right state 3 dot is a indication to cover up your existed state. So new state is a hold your existed state, like three values already you are showing there. That's why your three values automatically come in new state. And after the new state dot splice means remove. How many items right now you want to remove? One. So it will pass a one and automatically remove. But which? From the last, from the between, from the beginning, where? So you pass your index value, and according using your index value, it will remove. So splice is just a remove according one item according to your given index. And this is a remove action. It is a reducer will call whenever we pass the action. How can we do this? We have to create, and here you can understand already told you about, and components. Now we have to go to the component, and in component we have to use add to do add item, and to do just to display the item using the observer. So we are going to this page, add component. So first of all we go to add to do component to us. Add component, uh, you can see I want to in HTML, you can see in HTML there is a text box, input box. It's a just text box. ID is a T1, and button will call a function, on click function, add value and pass T1 dot value. So it will call a function. Whenever we call the function, it will automatically go to the add to do component dot ts. Here we define add v. Here we define add v, which call the model. Model, you already told what is the model. Model, you can see title. So it will call the model and add your data. Just a minute. So we call the class object of the model, but and title pass the value and dispatch. So what is the dispatch? This is my action. So store will dispatch. Store will dispatch when sending the action to new to do add to the new to do add function. And add function will go to the reducer, and reducer according to now what are you passing? Add function. So reducer automatically understand right now what are you sending. You are passing the action type add. So according to your sending object, it will automatically push your item in object in list. So your item will be add automatically in list. For that, we have to call the model, store because it's a predefined library, and obviously action. After that, we can call here. If you are not calling, you can. If you are not calling your class, your library here, then you could not call your function and your class here. It's just a constructor. And like this, I want to use for remove operation and removal operation, where it will showing as a list. So to do component.html, you can see here is just a ul and li just running as with help of loop, and loop which show your item according to your content store. So it will show one by one item. So v.title, v.age, right now age is not available, already I deleted. So v.title, v, what is the v? Actually, I am passing target value, and from this target value, we are getting one variable v, and one by one it will get the value and it will show in li list. And one option more, uh, remove button. Remove button is just take designing from the CSS area, and call del delete function passing I. So here two value are showing here, that v of target value, passing value, which show one by one your list, and second let I equal to index, we hold the index, then we can pass in the delete operation. So if this is a to do dot component HTML, so obviously function delete function defined in the to do HTML. So we go to the HTML to the component.ts. You can see your delete function and passing index, and again store will dispatch remove to remove from action type and index value. Then according to your sending index value, they will understand what type of value right now from the list I have to remove. So it will splice your list, and you can see it showing your list. So it's not only your performing your delete function here, it performing observable here. You can see store.pipe select to do's from the subscribe value. It's just an observer which find the data from the store. Right now, store your contain RxJS functions and it contain your all information. So using this observer, using RxJS, it will show data. And whenever you call RxJS observable TV, you can see TV is at any type. This is a data store dot pipe will show select to dos one. What is the to dos one? So you can see in my app dot component ts already I define, sorry, app dot model dot ts already I have defined my reducer type to dos one, which run one by one. So it's create like a observer. It will automatically go to reducer go to the store and provide your one by one data. So in my to do dot component.ts, I am calling this to do one which already defined app model.ts. So this data model type information, this is an array, this is a model type of information already defined in your first application as store in the available in the store, and right now it will store in to dos one, and using the observer operator pipe we call the to dos one. Right now we are creating a variable to observe all data, and after that using the selector, using the select method we can call to do one and subscribe your data right now this application, and you can see one by one this application. But this dot tv equal to values because I want to this value in html page. So right now I call the my value one by one and store in the tv variable target value variable, and this values observe your values and pass in the t variable, and this variable come in my html site and show using the loop one by one value, and with each value we can click operation, we can apply click operation, we can send the my action and dispatch my action to reduce and send the request to remove item from the list. So I tried to explain in my way. I hope you understand. I hope you understand. If you have any question about this, please drop your message and you can ask me if you have any doubt. Does anyone have any doubt?
Thank you, ma'am. That was
At the
wonderful.
moment, there are
And, at the moment, there are no questions, and if there are any, we'll leave them in the comments below, and you can maybe spare some
Yeah,
time and answer them sometime.
yeah, sure. If you have any doubt, anyone have any doubt or question, you can drop message my LinkedIn profile or any comment. I will try to solve that. And thank you so
Sure,
much
ma'am.
once again, Usha and entire team. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And moving forward in today's event, we've got our next speaker lined up. That is Miss Priyal Jain. She's a web developer, and today she's going to be talking about directives in Angular. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Calvin. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Yeah, thanks. So, hello everyone. I'm Priyal Jain and I am a web developer having experience in 1.5 years in IT industry. Also, I am a co-organizer and women technical ambassador at GDG Cloud Indore. Today, I will explain about what are directives in Angular and its various types. Firstly, what a directives basically is simply provide the instructions into the DOM. As you all know what the DOM stands for, it's a document object model. It's how to get, modify, or update or perform the various operation into the document. Directives also places your component in the Angular. A directive represented as either its symbol to stand out and perform its various operations. We will later on discuss about the types in detail. Now, let's move on to the type. Here, there are three types in directives: component, attribute, and structure. Component directive component directive are specify the directive within a template, and an attribute directive, it defines the changes or appearance or behavior of the particular element. The third one is structural. It changes the whole layout of the element. We will discuss this each one by one in detail. Now, let's come to the first one. It is what is component directive. Component directive is used to specify the HTML templates. It has structured design and working pattern of how a component should process and initiate it. It is most commonly used directive in any of our Angular project. As you can see, it consists of three fields: selector, template URLs, and style URLs. Selector specify that the Angular create an insert of the instance of our component with the app root. Like with the HTML tag, we can insert in any of the component in our page. Like template URL is just simplify that we give the path to the particular HTML file. If we want to write the HTML code here, so we can simply write the template and column and put the backticks inside the template code. And the third one is style URL. Style URL is basically give the styling of the particular CSS files, which make our code effective, clean, and easier. And if we want to give the style, so we can already write the style colon and put the backticks. So another one is also the provider, which I didn't write here, but which is optional. Like it's a provider that components required. Like for example, if how to provide you to any of the service and to get the data list and the display here. So here's the three file consist in this: the CSS, SCSS, HTML, and TS. Like Angular supported TypeScript. The TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript. It contains all the code and used by the component to control or its behavior. Now, let's jump to the second one, attribute directive. Attribute directive, it simplifies what attribute means. Attribute it defines and modifies the functionality of our element to create and execute, perform the certain task in the DOM. However, we can easily implement by specifying the selector by using the component class. As you can see that there are two attributes, ng style and ng class. But if we talk about normal HTML pages, like we give the class to the only inline styling and inline class. But here, if we want to give some dynamic styling or changes on the particular condition, then we will use ng style on the brackets and we give the condition that x is less than 2 and put the color property to the blue, otherwise black. Here question mark means that this is used in ternary condition. So yeah, x is less than 2, then blue indicates, otherwise black. Now let's create one example for this. If we want to use the ng style for only dynamic conditions, so I will write only this color property, then write x is less than 2 as given in the slide, or whatever you want to add. So here it shows the error like property x does not exist. So I have to declare x is equals to 3. If I declare x, yeah, the output is shown here green because 3 is greater than 2. So it will go to the else block, not show to the blue one. If I were to show the blue color, then I will put x equals to 1. Then it will reflect the changes. So similarly, the class ng class is similar like this. If we want to add some particular condition on the basis of condition, if we want to add class name, then yes, x is less than 2, then class A will be applied. If x is greater than equals to 2, then class B will be applied. So here, let's move on. If we want to create some custom directive, if I don't want to use any predefined directives of the I want to create my own custom directive. Like I want to change the changes and behavior and appearance of the particular element. So here I am creating. So at the import directive element reference using Angular code. In import all the dependency through the Angular and create a custom directive using @ symbol with the directive name and the selector custom color. I here put the custom color. You can give any of the here. If we the export class custom color directive, then element reference. Here the element reference is a wrapper class which can use to bind our DOM, which is the reference to the particular object and exposes all the method and properties of all the native elements. Native element here means refer to the h1 tag, which will give the style and background color dynamically with the attribute directive. Here, I created one custom directive to make you understand like this. Using the directive, I create here a custom directive name and create an export class custom color directive and constructor name. Here I give the background color equals to red and color is white. So here, if I want to add my custom directive, so how I add? I go to h1 and I add custom directive here. So here it will reflect these changes. So you can see like here I have added the custom directive and
Hi
Hello.
everyone. I think there's a little bit of a technical difficulty here, so kindly wait for a few minutes.
So yeah, my network got disconnected. I'm so stuck.
It's okay. Ma'am, can you share your screen again?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am. You can start.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, what does the ngIf or hidden means? ngIf will comment out the data when the expression is false, means when the data is not loaded, but it's causing HTML to load faster. Hidden load the data, but it will hide the HTML attribute. This way, the data are not loaded, even they are not visible. So let's create one example using the hidden attribute. Yeah, this says that the is logged in is does not exist on the type. Yeah, I have to remove this. Yeah, it works. So yeah, is logged in is true. Is it false? Because it's hidden. If we want to hide this, then it will at the not operator. Yeah, it's false, then it will hide. Now the condition is matched. Now ng4. ng4 is used to iterate the data from the list of arrays. Like let emp of employees let I equals to index. Like if we want to iterate the data from the list of array, so we use ng4 here. Then get the index and get the list of the name. Now let's come to the last one, ng switch directive. So here the switch directive is used to render the multiple conditions. Like if we allows you to render the different elements given on the particular condition, we bind the expression using the ng switch directive. Now the ng switch case directive tell us that this matches this matches the condition expression, so it will render the element. If the no conditions are matched, then there are the ng switch default directive will be applied here. Now let's consider the example. So I have comment outdated code. Yeah, I iterate to the ng4 like people, as we see in the concept like ng4 is due to iterating to the array of objects. So I use ng4 here to iterate the array like that person of people, then use the condition like ng switch person dot country. If want to filter the condition by country wise, and next, then if li, then I want to switch the conditions like if person dot country equals to UK, USA or HK, then it will print to the name and country. If I don't want, I don't if I want if no conditions are met in between these two, then the default will execute like this. As you can see, like the default condition is here. If the no condition is matched, then the default. If the USA is there, is the both the conditions are there. So USA will print in both the cases, like HK and UK. Similarly, or similarly, the ng-for is used to iterate the data. Here I use ng-for and inside ng-quiz. So here you can also use the nested directives also. I use ng-for with ng-switch. You can also use with like ng for with ngif. Depends on the condition. You can also use the nested directive for the condition and display our data. So here, that's all about my session. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Twitter, and GitHub. And here's the demo URL for you can go and go and test the code. If you face any doubt, then you can reach out. So thank you.
Thank you so much, man. That was wonderful. And right now, there aren't any questions in the comments. So, in case there are, we'll be posting them down, and you can spare some time and maybe answer them.
Our next speaker will be joining us shortly, so please wait for a few minutes.
So, moving forward, let's welcome our next speaker. That is Mr. Aditya Tyagi. He's a front-end engineer of Josh Technological Group, and today he'll be talking about folder structure for scalable Angular applications. Over to you, Aditya.
Hi guys, my name is Aditya, and I am. One second. So my name is Aditya, and I am a front-end engineer at Josh Technology Group. I have extensive experience with working in Angular. I've been working in Angular from last 2 years now, and apart from that, I have also worked with the React and all. So scalable Angular structure. Okay. So first of all, I hope I first of all, so this is my like very first, and apart from that, this is this tutorial will help you build scalable Angular applications for enterprise as well as small scale things. Okay. So okay. First, we need to understand the importance of what we have learned in the past, and moving forward how we'll be going. When we are working with Angular or working in a team under the guidance of a lot of uh, seniors, they tend to tell a folder structure that we have to follow, but they never tell us why we have to follow that. So this is very important that you have to be in an attitude of learning. So this is the way I'll be erasing your memory, and let's start afresh. So how we will spend the next 25.5 minutes, or approx 35 minutes. First will be the introduction. Next will be theory. So a lot of this will be theoretical, because we need to understand how Angular works behind the scenes. So then you'll be staring at the screencast that I'll be doing, and we'll jump to the Q&A then. Okay. So the golden circle is very important in learning anything. So we'll be starting with why, we'll be then moving to how we'll do that, and then what will be the Angular scalable structure. Okay. Now, what a good folder structure is, it is easy to locate and easy to relate, right? That's it. Actually, it's that simple. It's easy to locate as well as easy to relate. This means if you are working in a very large Angular application and you want to change something in one file, so it should take you less than 1 second to locate that file, right? If you're not able to locate that file, it means the semantics of the folder structure is wrong. It is also important that the right files and the right components go in the right folders. Like for example, if you have a feature module, all the components which are being shared only by that feature module should be there in the feature module components, rather than having that in the shared. So all the components should be relatable. That is very important. So why do we need why there is a need of understanding the scalability of Angular folder structures? So this is some of the problems that I have faced in last 2 years now, and hence I have worked and researched about how the industry standards are for the Angular folder structure, and this is the reasons. So if you're getting confused time and again due to conflicting file names, uh, when a large number of developers are working on one single project, they tend to follow different file name conventions, right? Some follow underscores, some follow kebab case, some follow camel case. So it is important that you should have one file name conventions, and if the file names are conflicting, then it is a bad folder structure. You are unable to locate the file you want to edit within 2 to 3 seconds. This is a very big problem, and it is pretty much frustrating as well when you want to locate a file, you want to edit some file, and the hierarchy of the folder structure is such that it hinders with your workflow. That is again the need of a scalable Angular folder structure, a good folder structure. The files and the folder structures not follow the same naming conventions. The files are so organized that it goes against the best practice of the framework or a library you are working on. So Angular and React.js docs are amazing. If you go to angular.io or the React.js official documentation, the engineers there at Angular, they have recommended some things that you need to follow, that you should follow while developing Angular apps. So if your Angular structure or the folder structure is going against the best practices, one, it does not take or appreciate the complete power of Angular framework, and two, uh, it will not be as scalable as it should be. So this is the most important and most frustrating. Adding a new folder or file seems like a life decision as to where to add, how to add, and what to name. Like for example, if you are joining a new company or joining a new project, an Angular project which is going on for like 2 to 3 years. Now adding one folder or adding one file you have to take a permission or you have to consult with your seniors regarding that. This information is very difficult to process when you're working on legacy projects. So if the team has a constant folder structure that they have to follow, then it is very easy to go ahead working with legacy projects. Every folder or file which is getting added to code base is making you anxious. This is also very important. Like for example, sometimes adding the file structure or the folder in wrong order can take away your Saturdays and Sundays, and you have to work again to just to make that. Okay, so how we will be learning how we will be learning how to make an Angular folder structure scalable. So one thing that I have is make mistakes and then learn. Over the last 2 years, I have made a lot of Angular applications, some enterprise, some small scale. And midway through the project, I have understood that the folder structure that I am currently following is not scalable. And then I have to redo the entire thing. So that is making mistakes and then learning. The other part is learn from others' mistakes, that is blogs. So people, especially in the tech community, when they are working on something for a very long period of time, they have certain best practices which they have inculcated by making a lot of mistakes. And then they convert those mistakes into blogs. So it is really important for you to go through these blogs because it's like learning from others' mistakes. Okay, so enough talk. Let's come to the point. Yeah. So we start our Angular folder structure with the core module. So this module is very important. This is the module which is being used by the entire application. I have worked on legacy projects. I have worked on fresh projects, and every 95% of the projects are missing core module. There is a disclaimer that I want to put out right now, that this is not the folder structure that you have to follow for every single project, because every single project's requirement is different. Sometimes the project is like, do you really need scalability? That is a very important question. If the need for scalability is not there, then you don't have to follow this folder structure. You can go with a much simpler one. The question then comes to future proofing. Do you really want to future proof your project for scalability? Then you can follow this core module and this core module structure. But this entire folder structure is something that I have come up personally in the last 2 years working with multiple folder like Angular projects. So the most important part that goes into the core module is components, right? The components folder, it will contain the components which are common throughout the application, like header, navbar, and footer. Okay. Then comes the guards. I don't know how many of you have actually worked with Angular projects, but guards are something that help us in authorization and authentication. For example, an auth guard, right? If certain components or certain paths in your Angular application is prohibited for some users, then we use guards to do that. The next part is interceptors. They help to intercept or modify outgoing HTTP requests or incoming responses. There are mainly two types of interceptors, which are like token interceptor or error interceptor. There can be a number of interceptors out there, but the most prominent one are a token interceptor, where you attach your authorization token in the outgoing network request, or the error interceptor. If that request gives an error like a 404, then it is intercepted before it hits your component or a service. This makes the entire thing very modular. The next part is layouts. Like why layouts is very important, because like in a scalable Angular application, certain modules have their own independent layouts. One module A can have a different layout, a different header, a different footer, and module B can have a different header, a different footer, or a style of header. Some modules don't have a footer altogether. Some modules don't have a header altogether. But there is a lot of things that goes into that module. So rather than hiding and showing the header and the footer conditionally, what you can do is have layouts for different modules. If your Angular application have only one layout, like a header and a footer, and the body goes into between, then you can follow, have one single layout thing. Okay, then comes the model. This is a database topic as to where this is like data tables or the backend, like the models which are being created. I personally believe they should be kept in the core module as the entire app are using the models. Then comes the routes. The folder will contain one single file, that is all routes, which will contain all the routes in lazy loaded fashion. Now, what do you mean by lazy loaded fashion? So lazy loading means getting something only when it is required, right? If you are working on an enterprise Angular application and it is very large, loading all the modules, even though which are not required, will make a very large network request, and it will be very heavy to process that. It will make the Angular really slow. But when you are loading an Angular application and you only need one module to be visible, you can just call that. So that is lazy loading, getting something only when it is required. Then come the services. One of the biggest mistakes that developers out there commit is that they fail to understand how Angular's dependency injection works. Just because multiple features use the same service, they add the service to the shared module providers and then import the shared module into the features module. This entirely like fucks up the system, because now every feature module is creating a local copy of the service and it's using its local copy. I know it's a lot of things to process. It's very theoretical right now, but hold on, we'll go to the VS Code and we'll do everything like that. So services here is very important. All the services that are being used by the application are here. Uh, so the next are utilities. The folder consists of files and folders, which leads a helping hand. For example, I have like custom validators and utility services. Uh, so these are the folders which will go into the core module. What is a feature module? Now, in your Angular application, there can be a lot of features, right? For example, if you are building a card system, there can be a checkout module, checkout feature. There can be my orders feature. There can be notifications feature. So all these feature modules are not loaded entirely when the app loads. They are loaded through lazy loading when they are required by the user. And the feature modules, there is a way we will be having feature modules in our entire project in the folder structure. So next is the shared module. The core module is one of the most important modules which get ignored and overlooked very easily. Okay. Uh, The shared module mainly have directives. Directives helps in DOM manipulation. We have pipes. Pipes helps in like manipulating very small things like making a text to uppercase and all. And modules. A shared module will have all the modules which are being used by multiple features module. This is a very important thing to understand. And next, components which are being used by multiple feature modules. For example, there are two feature modules, feature A and feature B. These both feature modules are independent of each other, but they both use a single component. That component will be going in the shared module in the components folder. And if module A and module B, which are independent of each other, they are using a single submodule, that will be going into this folder being used by multiple feature modules. Okay, so let's fire up the VS Code. Okay. So this is a simple application that I have generated with NgNew. Nothing fancy about this. This is app, assets, and environment, just a bare bone Angular structure. Okay, so so this is a simple Angular application, right? So what we'll be doing is we'll be making a folder structure for this. I'll have this. Okay. So as promised, what we'll be starting with is the core module. Okay, so I'll be providing this slide so you don't have to write anything, but if you want, you can. Okay. Okay, so first we'll building the core module of the project. We do it's really simple actually. What we can do is just open this in terminal and then ng generate module. So this ng generate module core is ng stands for the Angular CLI, G stands for the generate, M stands for module, and core is the name of the module. So when I do that, it will generate a core module here, as you can see. So this is the core module which will be used by the entire application and will have everything. Okay, so now it's like really simple. What you have to do is just create what I'm doing here is I am right clicking on the core module, and because I want to generate a lot of stuff in this, I will open this in the integrated terminal in my VS Code. You can either go with like CD and commands and all, but this is like a shorthand for that. So once you are here, you can actually create folders. Either you can go like this, like new folder, make components. So these are the shared, this is the component that is used. This folder will have all the components which will be used by the entire application. For example, the header and the footer and everything. Okay. Then for okay, so we can generate some components like ng generate component header and ng generate component footer. So header and the footer components will be used app wide. It will be constant, and hence we'll be putting it in the core module components folder. Next, for this entire thing. Now, the generate command, it will also do. It will go to the core module and it will declare those components in this array. Thus, you don't have to do it explicitly. Next, what we can go is again we are in go to the core module and we can just create all the folders that we want. All the folders which are like guards, interceptors, layouts, models, routes, services, and utilities. So okay, so guards. So here we will have the auth guards and everything. Interceptors. Next we'll have layouts, models, routes, services, and utilities. So this is our entire core module, which we'll be just importing here, like in the app module first. So what we can do is let me delete this. Just delete this. So what just happened? Uh, I made changes and I saved, and this started showing. This is called hot module replacement. As soon as I will change in any of these files, my browser will be refreshed and the changes will start reflecting. Not all the files, like if you change in angular.json, for example, the changes won't be reflected because this is something the engine doesn't checks. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll have we'll go to the layouts and we'll generate a single layout which will be used by the entire application. So ng generate component project layout. Okay, so this is the layout that we have. Okay, this layout will be used by the entire application. What we can have is we can have a header, we can have a footer, and if I save this, okay, so we'll have that project layout. Okay, and what we can do is okay, in the project layout we have the header, we have the footer, and this layout will be used by the entire Angular application. There is one more thing that is required for this to work is a router outlet. This thing. So we'll put that later in the tutorial. Next, what we can do is in the so there are guards and routes. What we can do is then go to routes and create all routes.ts file. Okay, so what we can do is like have this instead. We'll be writing all the routes for the lazy loaded modules here. With lazy loaded. Okay, so we'll do that once we have a feature module in place. Then there are services and utilities. Okay, so apart from the core module, what we can have is have a one feature module as well, so that I can show you the routing and all. Ng generate module, let's say feature A. Let me have with the routing. So what does the dash dash routing flag does? It generates a routing file for feature A, and it will also have that routing file embedded into the feature A module. So I have feature A and feature A module and the feature A routing module because of the routing flag. So this is the feature module. Okay, so now what we can do is we can have in this routing module, this is feature A. Okay, so in this feature A module, now I like to follow a certain set of folders and certain set of components in every feature. This helps me to give a superior control over every feature that I actually build. So in every feature that you have, just start with having an entry component there. So I'll be generating a component for the feature A and module that will act as the entry component for feature A. Because sometimes what we can have is like every module can also have their own layouts, different layouts. So this is the entry component for feature A. And next what we'll do is we'll create a folder called pages. Now what will go into the pages folder? All the views that the feature A will have, it will go into pages. For example, we can have the feature A details. And we can have feature A about. So these are the two views that we have in feature A module, and these are in feature A about and feature A details. These are the pages. So what we'll do is we'll go into the routing of feature A, and we'll start creating routes for these. Like once somebody lands on the feature A, how the routing will work. So we'll have a path and component. Now this is a feature A layout. Why we have this? Because whenever somebody lands on the feature A routing module, what we want to do is we want to move everything or change the layout of a module through feature A. This is the entry component for feature A. Then we will have the children nodes for feature A. So if we want to open the details right away, what we can do is just have the same path, and the component will be feature A details component. And similarly, the next can be about component can be feature. Okay. So this is the routing for the feature A module. Now, this is very important, this entire thing, as well as the feature A module for the scalability part. Why scalability? Let me explain. A layout for feature A, a dedicated layout for feature A will ensure that I can change the layout of any feature at any point of time without impacting other features. If I want feature A to have the same layout as the project itself, then what I can do is just go into the feature A layout and just write router outlet. That's it. If I don't want to change the layout, but if I do want to change the layout, I can do everything here and write router outlet wherever I want. So with this file, feature A layout will make the layout of feature A independent of any other features as well as the project. This helps in scalability. What does pages do? We can have all the views which are in feature A as pages. There can be a page about detail. There can be a page about anything that you want. Absolutely goes into the pages, and the routing will handle that. Rather than just mixing everything in one module or one component, we can have it separate. Okay. So after this, now we have the feature module. We have set up the routing for the feature module. Why this is same? Because when we ask the user to go to a feature A module, it lands onto this path. The entry component for that is feature A layouts. It will pass to its children, and because this is exactly same, it will load the details component. I'll show everything like how this works. Okay, so then in the routing, what we can do is, because we have to go for the lazy loading. Path can be feature A and load children. Import. So this is a very basic this is a very basic syntax that like you can use or see the angular.io for that. Okay. App so feature A, feature A module. Dot then. So what this will do is this creates a feature A path which will help us go to lazy load, which will actually lazy load the feature A module. Once we go to the feature A module, the feature A routing will kick in. It will see that the feature A for this is same as this. And then it will go on to show the feature details component because these are same. Okay, so we'll be using this file, the routing file in our in the app. So this is the component is project layout component and children will be adults. Okay, we have exported this. Export once. You can just name this all because all the routes to the feature modules will be here. So we have exported that and we can use so we have imported all routes from core routes and all routes. So now what this will do? What this will do is when the user will land on the home path, the root path, it will use the project layout component, which is in the core module. Okay, so this will have the app header and the app footer, as well as everything for the project layout. This will make sure the entire application will have the same layout, but because feature A has its own layout, it is independent of this. It can either use the project layout or it can just be its own, have its own layout. So once this is done, okay. Once this is done, what we can do is we have to have the core module in the app. Okay, so okay, so like you can see, this is the app component and project layout works. Till here we have the project layout, but our header and footers are not showing, right? So what we'll do is we'll go into the layouts and Okay, so now we have header works, we have the project layout and the footer, right? And we can just actually remove this. Okay, so let me explain you how this is happening. So any route that I will now go to, the header will be same, the footer will be same, and anything that will change, it will change in the project layout, because this is the layout now. The header is this, the footer is this, and the project layout is this, right? Many a times what a lot of problems that I see in scalable Angular applications or the enterprise applications or the legacy applications is people keep on loading the same header and the same footer again and again by passing app header and app footer in every module. But that is wrong. App header and app footer will remain same for the entire application. If that is the requirement, then these two have to load only once into the project layout. Now anything that will change will be changing here. Okay. So now, for example, okay, so router outlet is an Angular component. We don't have. Okay. So then what we can do is now why do I have added router module here? Because one of the components, one of the project components is using router outlet. The layout part is using router outlet, and that is the reason I have added a router module in the core module as well. Okay, so now what we can do is we can go to app routing and all routes, because it is using all routes. It is okay. So the path is feature A. Now if I go to feature A, uh, um, I guess that's The lazy loading is not working, guys. I'm really sorry for this. This project layout was header works. It is actually I'll have to see this, but I guess my time is up. And what I can do is I can give you you can actually go to uh, adityatyagi.com with the Angular folder structure, and the entire summary of this is here. You can follow this article as well as the GitHub is present in the structure only. So this is the Angular scalable folder structure. You can go here and clone that, and yeah, that is pretty much it. I don't know, like the feature module is not loading. I guess there is something that I have to see. Anyways, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Aditya. That was wonderful.
Thank
And
you.
we'll be linking all of Aditya's handles down below. So if there are any future queries or questions, you can leave it down in the comments, or you can reach out to Aditya as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And moving forward, we've got our last speaker of the day. That is Miss Varsha Jaiswal, and she is the co-organizer and WTM ambassador at Google Developers Group Jalandhar. She is also a software developer at Fora Infotech.
Hello
So
everyone. Thank you so
over
much,
to you.
Shan, for this introduction. Okay, so hello everyone. A very good evening to one and all who are seeing this video right now, and greetings of the day who will be viewing this video at the later time. So here I am, Varsha Jaiswal, co-organizer and WTM ambassador of GDG Jalandhar, as Sushank introduced me, and I am working as a software engineer at an edtech company that is Edfura Infotech. So here I am today to talk about the basics of Angular, and my talk will just rotate around these particular topics. I know that you are loaded up with the various things and various like information about Angular since 3 p.m. today, but yeah, these are few basics that are okay, how Angular came in picture, and like, how what was the need of like having Angular in there. So I'll just start my session with a question that do you know about the basic difference between a website and a web application? Yeah, I'm looking for your answers in the comment section. So please feel free to comment your answer. Um, I'll be waiting for maybe 30 seconds. So like just like you can just make guesses that okay, what's the difference between a website or a web application? It might be the case that you might think that okay, these are two similar things and maybe the same thing, different names, right? Okay, so moving forward with the answer that website is just a web page containing information. I can give the example of Wikipedia or a simple portfolio of yours with just containing a home page, a page of your work experience along with the contact page or the projects you have done till now. And on the other hand, web apps are the web pages where user can perform some actions and can have personalized content. That is, taking the example of Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. Like there, you can just have your own information. You can perform some action. You can get something by clicking. You can log into the particular application. So if you want to design any website or web application, the basic technology stack which is required is HTML and CSS to just get the design and the gist of the particular website. But like You also need JavaScript if you want to make your website or web page interactive. Like if your user is clicking on any particular button or any particular link, it should be pointing out to something. It should be giving some reaction or some output of that particular click. So it should be interactive. And here JavaScript comes in picture. So as we can see that it was initially created to make web pages alive, which means to have web pages which respond to users based on their clicks and selections, as I just narrated that before. But it's not only for the front end client execution. It also helps us in building or developing backend when Node came in picture. So you might be having, like you might have heard about so many JavaScript frameworks, so JavaScript in backend and front end, like in the form of Angular, in form of Express.js, Node.js, and so many things. So diving deep into front end development, if you want to design any web page, we should be interactive and we should give response to the users based on their clicks and based on the performances, based on the action they want to take. So, as I mentioned, you can go with HTML, CSS, and of course JavaScript. So, it's just a practice of converting data to a graphical interface. But now you get an idea that about like how to build a front end application or a client side web application. As I said, you just make HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? But if suppose you want to design or you want to develop a larger web application, you want to just design a code which should be an application which should be having so many features. So now you will need to or you will be required to write lines of tons of lines of code. So using vanilla JavaScript, like for each and every cases, you will be writing the things and yeah, there will be obviously uncountable lines of code. So yeah, there will be a lot of pain. You will be frustrated. Suppose you have written a line of code, suppose 10,000 lines of code are there, and now you have to make change in line number 10 and then again line number 9,000. So you will have to make sure that okay, these are the changes, these are the line numbers where I have to make change for this particular feature update. So you'll be having pain. Like the developer will just get frustrated, like this particular man in this particular GIF, right? So, which, as I said, like which can be related to managing your web app structure, maintaining the code, updating the particular code base. Like suppose you just want to update it from the particular feature or something, and following the architecture, which is one of the most important thing to take care of. So that's why, like to just maintain those things, to just heal that particular developer's pain, JavaScript frameworks and libraries came in picture. As I said, like so in web development and talking precisely about front-end development, there are three topmost frameworks and libraries that are being used by developers all across the world. So first one is Angular, which has been developed by Google. Second is Vue, which was developed by Zooglar, and third is React, which was developed and designed by Facebook. So as we all know that it's Angular Day by ZDG Masuno. So I'll just talk about more about Angular. That okay, how Angular come in picture and what are the advantages of using Angular in our web application. So as I said, it's a framework written in JavaScript and the newer one in TypeScript, and it has been developed by Google to build client-side web application as well as cross-platform applications. So overall, what Angular does is it makes easy to build application for the website or maybe like also for the mobile applications. So now we okay, Angular has been designed by Google for front-end development and it also supports cross-platform applications. So like how why Angular? My answer to this is the first point is it gives your application a clean structure. so that you can easily modify the application and manage the things in easier way. Second is the best thing is that you can reuse the code. As you have seen in previous sessions, might have seen. Like suppose if your website or your web application is having three web pages where you need to include footer in each and every web page. So you just need to write one code of footer and then you can reuse that particular component or that particular piece of code in all those particular web pages. And yeah, you'll be able to reuse and there will be lines of code, like less lines of code. It will take less maintenance to update. Like if just you want to update something in footer, so you don't need to update that particular, suppose maybe copyright year or something. So you don't need to update that particular thing in all those pages. You just need to go to footer component and where you can update that particular data and it will be updated and uh, it will be there visible on all other pages which you have where you have used that particular component. Third is it makes our application more testable for the developers. So this is actually a very good point of Angular that like we as a developers can write test cases in a very easy manner and we can test our application at development and at our end in very easier manner. So fourth and the last one is it it is also popular for making single page application. So now the question is, it might be the case that, I don't know if you are aware of single page application, so what it is actually. So talking more about single page application, if so there are basic differences. Like in case of native application, suppose if you have just loaded the website or the web application, so your web application will make a request to the server and then the server will respond like will send back the response of that particular request. Now suppose that particular web application or website is having 2 3 pages, so now there are just data changes in all those 3 pages, right? You don't need to make request to the server each and every time. But in case of native application, what happens is, suppose there are 3 pages: home, about, and contact. So now from home, if we move to about, again it will just send the request to the server and server will just respond back to that particular request. So every time the website will send the request, the particular web page will send the request and it will just create the load there. But in case of single page application, what happens is once at one go when you will be loading that particular website, it will just send a request to that particular to the server and server will respond back with the module file of that particular web application. So now what happens if you just route from like change your route from home to about. So for the about page, it will only send data request to the server to fetch the data of about page only, and then server will respond back with the response of data for that particular data request. Right? So also the Y Angular is it's fast and you can scale your web app smoothly. Okay. So now we are aware about that. Okay, we are having few reasons to move with Angular. That why Angular is needed. Why we can go for Angular or we can use Angular in designing a web application. So now there are few key features of Angular which are there like to help you out to have a great web application. So first one is data binding. So data binding web development requires data synchronization between models and the views. Talking more about models and views, so model is actually which contains the data, and views are those who take care about the view or the display which user will be seeing. So what we need to show the user, what should be the UI or design that should be visible to the user, that is taken care by views. The best part is of Angular is it supports both type of binding, be it one-way binding or two-way binding. Second is speed and performance. So Angular transforms your templates into highly optimized code for JavaScript virtual machine. Moreover, you can use any technology to serve your application like .NET, Node.js, PHP, and so many things. So Angular also that the best thing which I can say in speed and performance for Angular is it will only load the code which has been requested. It will not load those extra codes which are there in your particular application and which has not been requested yet. Third is modelers. So, if you are thinking of building a large application of so many pages, so many features out there, so you can always break it down into different modules, into small modules, and you can start working with those small modules. You can start implementing those small features into the modules, and then you can just combine them to have a application or have the application which you wanted to design. Fourth one, which I feel is uh, the gift from Angular, is cross-platform. So I'm so sorry. So you can make web apps and mobile web application with Angular. Also, you can build PWA, that is progressive web application with Angular. And if you're looking to create a hybrid mobile application, you can go for Ionic with Angular. Like you can just search for Ionic and like you can just write the codes, and then you'll be able to create hybrid application. And if you want to have like native applications as well, you can go with native script that also supported by Angular. And then like you can also use electron.js to ship desktop applications. So isn't it amazing that like you just need to work out or you just need to focus on Angular and then few other things like if you want to create desktop application, electron.js, for hybrid INA, for native script and all, like you'll be good to go. And the best is PWA, like you don't need to go for any other things. It's installable, it's website, it's having the reach of each and everything and capability of mobile application. The last part is components. So in Angular, as you have seen the live coding before my session, so you can just divide each and everything into various components. So like suppose if I'll just take the example of a portfolio where you're having home page, work experience page, maybe project page, and then like contact page. So then you can just like rather than having whole line like the line of code in one at one place, you can just divide them into various small components, and then you can move ahead with designing those particular pages. So in my case, there are four web pages. So maybe I can just go with four components, that is home, work experience, projects, and contact. Now, there might be the case that you are having in your home page, you are designing or you are implementing so many types of things. Like suppose it is having a bio section separate, then talks or like project sections, like I can say featured project sections are separate footer or something like that. So in that case, under home page, you can design various components for that particular page. But okay, you can break it down into components, and then you can just write down the designing, and then like you can just have them at one place, and you'll be good to go to have a single, like you to have a great portfolio of yours in maybe less time or so. So yeah, Angular makes our life easier by providing so many things out there. So now we are aware of so many things that okay, what are the features of Angular? What are the like why Angular is needed? Why what is the use or advantage of Angular, like using Angular for your web application or for your application? But Do anybody have, like, do you have any idea when Angular came in picture? Like when the first version of Angular was launched? So this is a question, maybe, like, or like maybe I can move with the answer of this. Um, So how Angular came in picture, came into tech industry for the web devs. Initially, it was started by Googler for the internal team, and then they released its first version in 2010, and which was called as AngularJS or Angular 1. So then, like, Angular team set up, and then, like, they rewrite the code, the whole application into TypeScript, and like they replaced JavaScript with TypeScript because it was having lots of features like components, routes, and so many things. So then it came the second version of Angular, that is Angular 2. So before, like, Angular 1 or Angular JS is one thing, and after that we just name it as Angular 2, 3, 4, and so like that. So as of now, current version is Angular 9, which was released in 2019. So it has been like 10 years, approx 10 years for Angular. So now we know, okay, so many things about Angular. The question arises is how to start with Angular, like how to get stuck with Angular. So my answer to this is to start with Angular, the prerequisite that you should be aware of or you should know is HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and TypeScript. So you should be having the idea of these particular languages to go with or to move on with Angular to design your web application. And the best part is you can have Angular CLI, which is there to automate and accelerate your workflow. So you just need to write these commands, and then you'll be able to, like, create your Angular application, to build your application, and even to update and generate components, modules, and so many things are there in your application. So, if you want more info or if you want to know more about Angular, you can visit angular.io, so the website, to learn more about Angular framework. So, in Angular, it doesn't come with only the features or the capabilities which are there internally present. There are so many integrated tools out there which helps us out to move fast to move faster in our application. So first one is you can use Protractor for end-to-end testing for your Angular application. Second, Awari, it's a kind of plugin that you can install which helps you in debugging your Angular application. Third is you can use forms to build template-driven and reactive forms, and it's also dynamic in nature. Fourth, which I just talked about, is you can use progressive web apps schematics to use PWA features in your existing web application. Fifth is to render your app on server side, you can use Universal, which also helps you to increase SEO, that is search engine optimization of your Angular application. Sixth is Karma, which helps you to run your unit testings. Seventh, I hope that it's popular. Material design is already popular, and you can also use it in your Angular application to design your particular website. Eighth, which I just talked about, is Angular CLI, which is a command line tool that helps you to scaffold the Angular application in seconds. Like you just need to write ng new and the application name, and you'll be able to to create a particular application. You just need to write ng generate component and then, like, maybe home. So you'll be able to create home component of your particular Angular application. Ninth is internationalization support, which helps you to build your application and deploy it at any location. So you are not at all bound with the location or geographical areas. Tenth is HTTPS capabilities. It helps you to use AJAX calls and to use APIs and to use to fetch APIs calls and data. So इतना कुछ अब तो मैं बहुत कुछ कर सकता हूँ. So translating is like, oh my God, there are so many things now. I can just do awesome things. I can just create so many good applications or like that something. Okay. So anyone can give like, do you want to give an answer on this? That do you know any web application that is built using Angular? Any idea? Giving hint to this is uh, there are few applications which we use in day-to-day life. Okay, so I'll move with the answer. First is Gmail. Yeah, we use it daily and it has been built and designed in Angular. Second is Google Cloud, our own Google Cloud platform and Google Cloud. It has been designed in Angular. And not only Google, there are so many companies which are using Angular for their applications or for their web applications are there in their particular companies. So now, if you want to know more about Angular, you can visit Made with Angular website, and you will find that there are tons of companies who are using Angular. So you can just search with Made with Angular, and you will get to know that what are the things out there in the world or in the tech world, I would say, which has been made with Angular. So for more resources, you can just visit Angular Docs or Google Developers Code Labs at developers.google.com. And third is programming with Mosh Angular. So like if you're really into video lectures and if you love seeing those, so I'll suggest you to go with programming with Mosh Angular. So on YouTube, so he's having there is channel and also there is a course on Udemy for this one. That's it. That's from my side. If you have any questions or any queries, like if you want to ask any questions, you can just post your question in live comments, or maybe you can just tag me on Twitter, and I'd love to answer after the talk also, like after this session also. So you will just tag me there, and I'll be happy to answer. Thank you so much. Thank you, JDG Masood, for inviting me for this session, and thank you all for being there.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. That was wonderful. I really appreciate you taking time out and doing this. And from my end, I would also like to thank all the speakers. And my partner Kevin has the final note to say. Over to you, Kevin.
Hi everyone. Thank you all for watching this video and sparing your weekend time to do so. And just so you know, this is just part one of the Angular event. And there are two more sub events of Angular Day. And there are two events, one in the morning and in the afternoon. So if you want to stay updated, check out the meetup. And also do check out a line of events from TensorFlow User Group MISO and Women in Machine Learning and Data Science MISO. And I hope you guys are doing well in this pandemic. Keep learning, stay